Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you love captivating stories about men transforming into women in unique and fascinating ways, then be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let's jump right into today's tale.
Carnivals always brought out the worst in Greg's self-control. He couldn't resist fried dough, rigged games, or any sign that said win big. His wallet suffered every time, but his pride couldn't take walking away from a challenge. So when Greg spotted the garish, blinking WISHING booth $1, one wish, no refunds, he dug into his pocket without hesitation. "Dude, another booth?" Mike groaned, adjusting his baseball cap. "You've already blown $30 trying to win that inflatable alien." "It's $1, Greg countered, fishing out a crumpled bill. "What's the worst that could happen?" "Famous last words," said Derek, his other friend, mouth full of corn dog. The booth was shaped like a giant genie lamp, all purple velvet and gold tassels, manned by a woman in a sparkly turban who looked like she'd seen it all and lost interest halfway. She didn't even look up as Greg stepped inside, her long, bejeweled fingers flipping through a dog-eared paperback. "One wish, champ," she said, voice as bored as Tuesday. "State it loud and clear." The interior smelled of incense and cotton candy, making Greg's head swim. The carnival lights blinked through the thin fabric walls, casting strange shadows across the fortune teller's face. Her eyes, when they finally lifted to meet his, held a glint that should have warned him. Greg, still riding a sugar high from funnel cake, blurted, "I wish I knew what it was like to be the hottest girl at the carnival for a day." He snorted, already imagining his buddies' faces if he strutted around in heels and a miniskirt. "Bet you can't do that, magic lady." The woman's painted lips curved into a knowing smile. Her eyes sparkled like carnival lights on cheap jewelry. "Done." She snapped her fingers with a sound like static electricity. The world spun like a tilt-a-whirl after too many chili dogs. Greg's knees buckled as a warm, tingling sensation rushed up his spine, hot and cold at once, like peppermint on sunburned skin. "What the?" he managed before his voice caught in his throat. First, his hands tingled, shrinking as if someone was tightening invisible gloves around his fingers. His palms narrowed, knuckles smoothing out, nails lengthening and shining with a glossy, perfect pink. He wiggled them, blinking in confusion, watching as his hairy knuckles disappeared, replaced by smooth, elegant digits that somehow still felt like his own. "This isn't, you can't," he stammered, his voice hitching higher with each syllable. His arms followed, muscles slimming, skin turning silky smooth. Every hair disappeared as though waxed away, leaving nothing but cream-colored perfection. The veins that once stood prominent beneath his skin receded, leaving a flawless canvas. He poked his bicep, expecting his usual soft flab, but instead found nothing but toned, feminine grace. Just relax," the fortune teller said, turning a page in her book. "Fighting it only makes it worse." His shoulders narrowed next, popping and shifting beneath his skin. The broad framework that had carried him through high school football crumpled inward, rearranging into a delicate, feminine slope. His collarbones became more prominent, creating an elegant hollow at the base of his throat. His neck slimmed, Adam's apple dissolving with a ticklish sensation that made him cough. The t-shirt he'd been sweating in now hung awkwardly, the neckline sliding off one shoulder. "Can't you slow this down or something?" Greg gasped, his voice cracking between registers. The woman just raised an eyebrow. "You paid for express service, honey." Greg's chest tingled, and with a sudden, almost electric rush, two soft, warm swells blossomed beneath his shirt. It started as a pressure, like someone pushing against his ribs from the inside, and then a stretching sensation as new tissue formed. He gasped, hands instinctively flying up. He could feel the weight, the bounce, the unfamiliar sensation of fabric stretching around new curves. They weren't massive, but perfectly proportioned to his new frame, perky and firm. "Oh, come on," he protested, his hands hovering uncertainly over his chest, not quite daring to touch. His voice cracked, then smoothed into a breathy, feminine alto that seemed to come from higher in his throat. He tried to clear it, but the sound was softer higher, almost sultry. "No way, this is not happening," the fortune teller supplied, finally putting her book down. "I assure you it is." Greg felt his waist cinch next, ribs pressing closer together in a squeeze that knocked the wind out of him. His internal organs shifted, rearranging themselves to accommodate his new shape. His stomach flattened, the little beer gut he'd been nursing since college melting away like ice cream on a hot day. His hips rolled outward with a deliciously feminine sway, bones popping and shifting to create the classic hourglass figure. His shorts strained, seams popping as his new hips and backside filled them out, his rear swelling into a shape that would have made him wolf whistle if he saw it on anyone else. The sensation was bizarre, like someone was inflating him from behind, stretching skin and reshaping muscle into perfect feminine curves. "Jesus," he breathed, the word sounding musical in his new voice. "This is insane." "You're the one who asked," the fortune teller remarked dryly. He staggered, toppling against the velvet wall as his legs transformed. His thigh muscles redistributed, slimming down while simultaneously rounding out. His knees smoothed, losing their knobbiness. His calves curved into elegant lines that would make high heels a perfect showcase. His ankles narrowed to delicate proportions, while his feet shrank inside his sneakers, toes crunching uncomfortably before the shoes simply slipped off, feet shrinking, toes wiggling as they became small and delicate. The bone-deep tingling moved to his face last, and Greg felt it reshape beneath his fingers. His jaw softened, strong square angles melting into a gentle curve. His cheekbones rose, creating hollows beneath that gave him a model-sculpted look. His nose shrank and refined, the slight bump from a childhood baseball incident smoothing away. His lips plumped, the bottom one especially, creating a natural pout that felt strange against his teeth, which straightened and whitened to perfection. He blinked as his eyelashes grew, suddenly feeling their weight as they fluttered dramatically with each blink. His eyebrows thinned and arched into perfect expressive curves. A curious itching spread across his scalp before a waterfall of shiny auburn hair tumbled down his back, brushing his bare shoulders and tickling his neck. It fell in loose waves, catching the light with hints of copper and gold. His skin smoothed everywhere, pores shrinking, a healthy glow replacing his usual pale complexion. Even his ears seemed smaller, more delicate, peeking through the curtain of red hair. He caught sight of himself in the booth's mirrored wall and froze. A knockout stared back, heart-shaped face, full lips, big sparkling green eyes, a mane of red hair, and a body made for summer dresses and jealous glances. Not a bombshell in the artificial way, but the kind of natural beauty that turned heads and launched careers. Grace seemed more fitting now gawked. "Holy crap, I look like I just stepped out of a music video." "Just as you wished," the fortune teller said with a lazy smile. "The hottest girl at the carnival." "But my clothes," Grace protested, gesturing at her baggy t-shirt and now ill-fitting shorts. "I can't go out like." The booth attendant snapped her fingers again. Instantly, her clothes shimmered, transforming into a flirty sundress in pale blue that hugged every new curve, the hem stopping mid-thigh. A pair of wedge sandals appeared on her feet, adding 3 inches to her already considerable height. A tiny purse materialized, dangling from her shoulder. She felt the weight of earrings, the cool touch of a delicate necklace. "That's better," the woman said, returning to her book. "Now run along. You've got exactly 24 hours before you turn back into a pumpkin, so to speak." Grace twirled instinctively, the dress flaring around her thighs, her long hair bouncing. The movement sent unfamiliar parts of her anatomy into motion, and she quickly steadied herself, cheeks flushing. "This is insane, completely insane." "That's what they all say," the fortune teller murmured, turning a page. "Doors that way, sweetheart." The carnival noises outside sounded different as Grace stepped uncertainly through the beaded curtain. Every laugh, every whistle, every "hey gorgeous" seemed to be aimed at her now. The colors seemed brighter, the sounds sharper, as though her senses had been fine-tuned along with her body. She stepped out, wobbly on her new legs, and the crowd parted like she was a celebrity. "Walk from the hips," an older woman advised as she stumbled past. "Let them carry you." "Thanks," Grace mumbled, concentrating on not falling over. Her friends spotted her almost immediately and went slack-jawed. Mike's corn dog froze halfway to his mouth. Derek's eyes widened to comic proportions. "Dude, Lady Greg, is that you?" Mike spluttered, corn dog forgot. Grace grinned, tossing her hair over her shoulder in a gesture that felt natural despite having never done it before. "You got a problem with a little wish fulfillment." "Holy shit," Derek whispered, circling her. "It's really you in there." Last time I checked, Grace quipped, though the sound of her voice still startled her. It was melodic, with a slightly husky edge that made even the simplest statements sound flirtatious. But how, what? Mike stammered. The wishing booth actually works, Grace explained, gesturing back at the purple tent. Who knew, right? And you wish to be this? Derek asked, gesturing vaguely at all of her. I wish to know what it was like to be the hottest girl at the carnival for a day, Grace corrected. I was joking. How was I supposed to know she'd actually turn me into? Well, this? She gestured down at her new body. Dudette, you look like Jessica Rabbit's hotter sister, Mike said, finally finding his voice. Stop staring at my chest, Grace snapped, crossing her arms. Sorry, Mike's eyes shot up to the sky. Wow, so how does it feel? Grace tried walking again, discovering her hips swayed with every step, her balance thrown off by her new center of gravity. Weird, really weird, everything's bouncy. I'll bet, Derek snickered, earning himself a swat on the arm. Ow, you still hit like Greg, he complained, rubbing his bicep. Kids pointed and giggled as they passed, teens stared, and a group of guys tried, and failed, not to gawk. Grace felt their eyes on her like physical touches, making her skin prickle with awareness. Is this what it's always like? She hissed to a passing woman, who just laughed. Welcome to the club, honey, the stranger replied with a knowing smile. A carnival worker running a ring toss booth caught sight of her and nearly dropped his prizes. He ran up, offering her a giant stuffed unicorn. For the prettiest girl here, he said, cheeks bright red. Grace accepted with a wink, enjoying the attention in a way that felt both alien and hilarious. Thanks, but I didn't even play. On the house, he insisted, backing away like he'd just met a celebrity. This is ridiculous, Grace muttered to her friends as they walked away. I've been a woman for 5 minutes and I've already got free stuff. I've been trying to win that unicorn all day, Mike grumbled. Maybe you should have wished to be hot, Derek suggested, ducking as Mike swung at him. So what's the plan now, Grace? Mike asked, testing out the name. Grace, she echoed, considering it. Yeah, I guess that works, and I don't know, live it up for a day, see what all the fuss is about. We should hit the Screamer, Derek suggested, pointing to a towering ride that spun people upside down. You used to love that one. I'm not sure that's a good idea with these new additions, Grace said, gesturing vaguely at her chest. Let's try something tamer first. They wandered through the carnival, Grace learning on the fly. She discovered that eating cotton candy with long hair was a challenge. It stuck to her lips and hair like glue. She found that wedge sandals were a crime against feet, her toes cramping after just an hour. Every bathroom mirror became a magnet, drawing her in to stare at the strange face looking back. I can't believe that's me, she murmured, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Using the women's restroom had been its own adventure, one she navigated with burning cheeks and mumbled apologies. First time in heels, honey, an older woman had asked, watching her wobble. Something like that, Grace had replied. Back outside, a group of college guys whistled as they passed. One broke away, approaching with a confident swagger. Hey beautiful, did it hurt? He asked, flashing what he clearly thought was a charming smile. Grace stared blankly. Did what hurt? When you fell from heaven, he finished with a wink. Mike and Derek snickered behind her. Grace rolled her eyes so hard, she nearly strained something. Original, she deadpanned. Did that work on anyone born after 1950? The guy's smile faltered, just trying to be friendly. Does that line ever actually work? Grace asked, genuinely curious. Sometimes, he admitted, looking sheepish. Can I buy you a funnel cake to make up for it? Grace considered him. He was cute in a frat boy way, with tousled brown hair and a nice smile. In her old body, she'd have been the one awkwardly approaching someone like her. The role reversal was dizzying. I've already eaten, she said, then added with a smile, but points for the recovery. As he walked away, Mike whistled low. Harsh dude. What? That line was terrible, Grace defended herself. And anyway, it's weird, I'm not actually. You know, she gestured at her body. Still you in there, huh? Derek asked. 100%, Grace confirmed, though there was something strange about experiencing the world from this new perspective, the way people spoke to her, looked at her, moved around her. Everyone seemed to either want something from her or wanted to give her something. It was flattering and exhausting all at once. They tried out the Ferris wheel next. Grace, discovering her new fear of heights, was nothing compared to the fear of wind blowing her skirt up. She clutched the fabric down with both hands as they rose into the air. "Stop laughing," she hissed at her friends. "This is a genuine concern." "That's why women don't wear loose skirts on windy days," an older lady in the next car called over helpfully. Grace spent the day exploring her new world. She won at the shooting gallery, surprising herself with her steady aim despite smaller hands. She tried driving the bumper cars, adjusting to her new sense of spatial awareness. She flirted with the ice cream vendor and got an extra scoop for free. "This is like playing life on easy mode," she remarked to her friends, licking her double scoop cone. "Only because you look like that," Mike pointed out. "I bet if you were average looking, it wouldn't be so much fun." "Way to kill the mood," Derek muttered. They ran into some girls from their high school who didn't recognize Grace but eyed her with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "Who's your friend?" asked Amber, the queen bee of their old school. "This is Grace," Mike said awkwardly. "She's visiting from out of town." "Love your dress," Amber said, eyes narrowing as she took in Grace's perfect figure. "Where did you get it?" "Magic wishing booth," Grace replied honestly, enjoying the confusion on Amber's face. "Is that a boutique?" Amber asked, frowning. "Something like that," Grace said with a smile. "One-of-a-kind pieces." As the sun began to set, painting the carnival in golden light, Grace found herself drawn back to the wishing booth. The woman in the turban was still there, now flipping through a fashion magazine. "Having fun?" she asked without looking up. "It's been educational," Grace admitted, leaning against the door frame. "I didn't think it would actually work." "No one ever does," the fortune teller replied. "That's the fun part." "Ready to go back?" she asked, finally meeting Grace's eyes. Grace hesitated, glancing out at the carnival, the lights, the laughter, the day of experiences she'd never imagined having. She caught her reflection in a funhouse mirror, a stunning woman with a killer smile and a twinkle of mischief in her eyes. For a brief moment, she wondered what it would be like to stay this way. "Yeah," she said at last, "but I'm not gonna lie, I'll miss the free snacks." The woman snapped her fingers. The world spun again, colors blurring, sensations rushing in reverse. Grace felt her body expand, stretch, reshape itself. Her hair retracted, chest flattened, hips narrowed, jaw squared. The pretty sundress morphed back into his t-shirt and shorts. Greg stumbled out of the booth, back in his old skin, shorts, and sneakers. He ran his hands over his face, his chest, his arms, checking that everything was back to normal. His friends surrounded him, peppering him with questions. "So," Mike demanded, "what was it like?" Greg just grinned, tossing his now much shorter hair. "Best carnival ever." "Details, man," Derek insisted. "Was it weird? Could you feel everything?" "Some things are better left to the imagination," Greg replied mysteriously, enjoying his friend's frustration. And as he left, he couldn't help but glance back at the booth. The woman winked, and Greg wondered, just for a second, what other wishes might be worth $1. Maybe next time he'd try something even more adventurous, but that was a story for another carnival.